Back in the old days, this part of the world used to be the economic powerhouse with over 50% of the global GDP in the 1600s. This region comprised of China and India. The Chinese discovered the compass, printing, the paper on which we print today, and led several expeditions across the world. The Indians were known to be great in sciences. They discovered the digit zero, which made mathematics and computing simpler. They also pioneered medical surgery way back in 1600 BC. Although both countries lost their leadership positions since the 1800s, owing to a variety of reasons like Western colonization, advent of Western technologies and factories, and technology-enabled weaponry of the colonizing powers. China and India have started becoming economically powerful once again, with China being the more dominant one in terms of economy and military. While the two countries were always competitors in terms of global trade for a very long time, they were never hostile to one another. Wait, that is until 1962. There were a series of events which started with the Chinese annexation of Tibet and coupled with the disputed international boundary, with India leading to a bitterly fought war in 1962. India lost that war and had to cede a part of its territory to China. Ever since then, India and China have always had a tense relationship, which is not only limited to the land border but has spilled over to other strategic aspects. When it comes to the India-China rivalry, the southern neighbor is pulling no punches and is proving that it is no pushover. India has been bestowed with a promising geography with the mighty Himalaya mountains in the north, which forms a natural barrier against invasion from China. Of late, the country has significantly enhanced its border infrastructure in the Himalayas to really reduce the border infrastructure gap between them and China. There has been a massive push to construct tunnels, roads, railways, and military infrastructure in the Himalayas. Now, wait a minute. Isn't this video about an archipelago? If the dispute between China and India is along the mountainous land border, how is an archipelago becoming increasingly important to India? The answer lies in the changing nature of the geopolitical challenges that India faces. While India has invested heavily in its land forces and border infrastructure to achieve parity with the Chinese, the country realized that it had not been modernizing its navy adequately. The Chinese navy has become increasingly assertive in the Indian Ocean region, a place which India considers its backyard. New Delhi has started appreciating the importance of the navy and has started modernizing it. This has happened for several reasons. Number 1. Sea-based trade has taken precedence over land-based trade, and India is very close to the major shipping trade routes. Much of India's trade, especially agricultural exports, now take place through maritime routes. India's export-import trade has been growing at 4.5% CAGR, and almost 95% of India's exports and imports happen through the maritime infrastructure. Number 2. China has been aggressively expanding its maritime presence in the Indian Ocean region by developing ports or securing berthing rights in multiple ports starting from Djibouti, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, and Myanmar. Presence of the Chinese so close to its maritime borders has given the Indian strategic establishment impetus to focus its attention to the Indian Navy. Number 3. Much of today's military capability depends on missile deterrence, especially having a second strike nuclear capability. India has had some remarkable progress in building its own nuclear submarines and submarine-launched ballistic missiles, thereby completing its nuclear triad. Therefore, because of trade, China, and overall security, India has been increasing its spending on the modernization of the Navy. As per estimates, India needs to have almost 200 ships and 24 submarines to have a credible deterrence and power projection in the Indian Ocean region. While India can afford the huge investment needed for this naval expansion, there are also competing resource requirements. The resource constraint has forced India to think more strategically to make the best use of its available resources. This includes working in alliance with other friendly navies like the US, Australian, and Japanese navies. These countries are also together known as the Quad. The resource constraint nudged New Delhi to look at the strategic aspect of the Andaman and Nicobar Islands. At first glance, the archipelago of the Andaman and Nicobar Islands will present a place with great tourist attractions. And in fact, India has started developing these islands as a great place for tourism. Take a look at the sea from the Andaman Islands. Isn't it amazing? The clear blue seas, facilities of multiple water sports, the natural flora and fauna, and the opportunity to visit some of the oldest tribes in the world does have great tourist potential. So how can Andaman and Nicobar Islands become strategically important for India? The answer lies in the location of the islands. The archipelago consists of 572 islands, which are spread along the north to the south, covering a distance of about 800 kilometers. The southernmost island is only 150 kilometers from Indonesia, and this place is also known as the 6-degree channel, which provides merchant ships the entry to the Malacca Straits. This entire region has one of the busiest maritime traffic in the world, and China specifically uses these shipping routes to import almost 80% of its energy and oil and gas needs from the Middle East. Therefore, having military assets on the Andaman and Nicobar archipelago is a very cost-effective way of power projection across the Indian Ocean region. Realizing this, the Indian establishment has already set up the Andaman Nicobar Command, which is the first of its kind tri-service theatre command, meaning the Army, Navy and Air Force jointly report to one commander there. Also, while the archipelago comprises only 0.25% of the total Indian land area, it contributes to 29% of the exclusive economic zone for the country. So needless to say that these islands add immense potential to overall India's economic potential. The presence of the theatre command in Andaman and Nicobar Islands, strategically positioned naval ports, and Indian Air Force assets on these islands have made the Chinese jittery. The Chinese realize that the Indians can cut off their oil supplies in case of any military engagement between the two. Therefore, the Chinese often try to create incursions on the northern border in order to keep the Indians engaged at multiple locations in the north. However, these Chinese tactics seem to be failing since India is continuing its pace of the naval development in the Andamans and engagement with the Quad. While the future is definitely hard to predict, India certainly has a huge advantage in this geostrategic zone and can dominate the maritime routes, which can be an Achilles heel for the Chinese.